Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining back on this edition of the Huddle Hour. Hey, as tampering period is in full swing, players are starting to decide, what teams that they want to go visit, and the Pittsburgh Steelers once again find themselves in the news from a 2022 Pro Bowler from an AFC rival. Who that is and how they could impact this team, we'll get to that here in a second. But if you guys like this content, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And I guess with that being said, let's kind of just jump right into it. So it was reported by the Steelers Depot that Mitch Morse, recently of the Buffalo Bills, is going to be set to visit the Pittsburgh Steelers. And obviously, with releasing Mason Cole, the Steelers definitely have a huge void at the center position. And based on, quite frankly, the quarterback position, the center is, a huge spot. And I think we've seen, just Jason Kelsey, Frank Ragnow in Detroit, some of these great teams with younger quarterbacks. It makes things a lot easier from an offensive flow standpoint when you have a veteran center that is good at, protections and, run game, pass game, but isn't afraid to speak their voice when it comes to, do we stay in this play? Do we audible to this play and everything like that? And so, obviously, Mitch Morse was a second-round draft pick from the Kansas City Chiefs in 2015, spent 4 years out in KC, and then went up to Buffalo, where he started, he started 126 games in his 8 years career. And in 2022, made his first Pro Bowl and then was able to start all 17 games for the Buffalo Bills last year. And just was, a cap casualty like Buffalo has been doing this week with Poyer, Tre'Davious White, and some of their other, offensive and defensive stars. But Joe Clark speculated that Morse would be a good fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers, noting his experience, leadership, and the fact that Tomlin actually attended the Missouri Pro Day, 9 years ago when he, before he was drafted. So at this time, it's a little unclear what the asking price would be, but Pittsburgh is looking for an experience and leadership for a young offense with a glaring hole at center, especially following Mason Cole's release, like we stated earlier. And just like inside linebacker, it's kind of been a revolving door since the Ryan Shazier injury. Center's kind of been the same thing, where since Marquise Pouncey decided to retire, the Steelers just haven't been able to fill that void. And so obviously signing Morse wouldn't be a long-term fix, but it'd be more of a bridge option, because you wouldn't be forced to use that center pick early in the draft. Because you could potentially get, a tackle, a corner. There's some other positions of need that the Steelers need to go after. And so having kind of that bridge center, because who knows, is Oregon's Jackson Powers Johnson or West Virginia's Zach Frazier, who are two probably the top center draft eligible centers in this draft. It allows you to maybe pick a center deeper down, because it is a deep draft. Just those are the two names that are at, end of the first, early second, as far as a draft grade goes. It could allow you to go down a little bit, maybe Dukes, Graham, Barton, who mostly played left tackle in college. So the transition to maybe switching over to center is going to take a few years. And so not having to necessarily go right into that. And so the article keeps going on to say, because Morris was released by the Bills, he's free to sign at any time and won't have to wait until the start of the new year. There's no compensatory picks that are kind of factored in. So I think this would be a great fit, both from a leadership perspective, but then also there's a glaring hole at center. Obviously, that everybody's heard the news that Russell Wilson is planning on meeting with the Steelers now to kind of see where he fits into the fold. Obviously, there's been reports out that, Pittsburgh is interested, but they actually only see Russell Wilson as a backup. Now, if I'm Russell Wilson in that perspective, I still am intrigued about this Pittsburgh opportunity because the defense is good. Omar Khan has shown that he can get talent both in the draft and via free agency. They've got playmakers both on the outside and at running back. So, if I'm Russell Wilson, it's like, yeah, I'll come in as a backup. But knowing that probably Kenny Pickett is going to be on a very short leash. And so while you might come in as a backup, chances are, especially if this team, starts off good, but the quarterback play is, isn't any better than what it was last year. Russell Wilson then could kind of come in and save the day, quote unquote. And so I think the combination of, who we're seeing the Steelers starting to sign, look at Mitch Morse, Russell Wilson, I think you can see that Omar Khan's plan is to get better, but then also be smart. Obviously, there's still the report out that Justin Fields, that might not be done in true Pittsburgh fashion. We've seen them move slower kind of throughout all this process. And so if Justin Fields' trade market has not been kind of what Chicago expected it to be, obviously Atlanta was kind of hot and heavy, but they prefer like the Russell, the Kirk Cousins, the older, more pocket passers. And so maybe in this wave 2 of free agency, after this initial wave gets done and the trade capital that is going to have to be required to go in to the Justin Fields package, I think could be less into enough where Omar Khan is like, okay, now this makes sense. Let's go get Justin Fields. Because I do think if you plug in Justin Fields with his athletic talent, passing, being a Lions fan, I've gotten to see him. The Lions struggle more than anybody against Justin Fields, and it's because of his legs. You team that up with, Harris and Warren, and they've got playmakers. I think Justin Fields is better than Chicago brass wants to give him credit for. They just have been a void of talent up in Chicago. So I think that at the end of the day, if his trade capital decreases, I would look to see if Pittsburgh could go after him, because I think he's a better fit than Russell Wilson. I think he's a better player than Kenny Pickett. And so there's a lot more that's going to, transpire through this tampering period and then free agency, and moves are definitely not done being made. But if you guys like this content, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And until next time, guys, have a good one.